Lips good? Alright, I think so. I think we straight, B. Yo, what up, YouTube? Today I figured I'm gonna go ahead and do like a little FL tutorial slash beat breakdown. One of the joints I did called Bad. Now, in this tutorial, what I want to break down is a couple of things that I think that beginners might like to know. You know, stepping into the FL platform, it can seem a little intimidating, but once you get the basics down, I think you're gonna fly through it. So first thing I want to talk about is on this particular track, I started with a sample. So I didn't really know what kind of vibe I was going for when I started this track. I just heard this performance and I was like, I like this run in this. So I went, got the live performance, and chopped up that vocal from that live performance. Let me actually just play it through, let y'all hear. It's actually got a lot of effects on it to achieve the sound that I wanted. Alright, so that is the sample. Now let me see if I take off the let me mute the effects on there, bypass them real quick so you can just hear the sample without the effects on it. So that's the sample uh that I wanted to chop up for this particular track. When you're hearing it, it is kind of pitched because of the time signature that I have it on. So if you tell, like, you can tell the vocals are a bit pitched up. All right, so that's that. Go ahead and put those effects back in. Now, there's also another part on here. Here, actually, there's also another part. Let me go ahead and solo it here. And then, and I have that pretty much throughout the entirety of the track. Now, after I got my sample chopped up, I decided to do some chords. So, went into purity. That's gonna be this right here. Let me go ahead and solo it. So, these are my keys right here, my notes rather, for the progression that I went with. Now, as far as effects on this track, I don't have too much going on as far as effects. I just have an EQ where I cut some of the low end out. And then I also have this soundly place it. This thing could do a number of things for you. So what I used it for was to create the tone of what I wanted for this particular track. If you stick around, you will see that on a lot of these instruments that I have here, I'll have this plugin with different parameters. It adds to the tone that I wanted to have for this particular record. So now, as far as these chords here, I'm gonna play this for you. So that's the keys. Now, these things down here, I'm also get into a little bit later. This is automation, which is why you're hearing like a tape stop effect with the keys here. So as you see, once I put these to play, it sounds different because with these muted here, some of these effects are playing just because I don't have this on. So with this on, as you see, like when the line is all the way down here to 0, that means that it's bypassing that particular effect, so you're not hearing it. Once I have all of these enabled, the tone of the keys sound different. Now you see is when I first played you these keys here, you were hearing a tape stop pretty much like every bar. So that tape stop I just have here, and as you see, it's off until it comes on here in this particular part, and then it's off again, and it's off into the last like bar of the record. So you see again that that's here, so you'll hear the tape stop here. So when that wasn't enabled, you were just hearing the tape stop like every bar. But this is how it actually plays through the track. You know what I'm saying? Just hearing it. All right. And again, I'm gonna get into the automation in a bit here, in case you're wondering how to do that. Now for number 3, went ahead, went into the Scorch VST. Now with this, I got a guitar. So let me play it for you now. This is gonna sound a little strange out of the mix, but once you hear it playing together, you'll get the gist of what's going on with that. All right, so here we go with that. And here are the notes for that. It's crazy how that sounds by itself, but in the record, that shit sound hard. All right, so same thing with that. Now, that just has fresh air on it. Now, this is a plugin that kind of adds like a clarity, like a little more crisp into your high end area. Like I said, to add that clarity into your instrument, and that's the only thing that I have on there. Next, went through Purity again to give me a bell, and here's our notes for that. And here's the bell. Oh, hold up, let me enable this again so you don't hear that tape stop every bar. All right. Now for that, again, like I said, we have Soundly. Do a few of those, and then we have some reverb on there as well. And for this reverb, I went with the stock reverb 2 from FL. Now I have a bunch of other reverbs as well that sound really good, but I'm not gonna lie, the stock FL reverb 2, I love that reverb. I find myself using that damn near like most sessions. It gives me just exactly what I'm looking for. So, if you don't have a lot of plugins, do not sleep on your stock FL plugins because they got some heaters in there for real. From that, I went ahead and went into the DX7. I love this plugin right here. It has a lot of great instruments. All of these joints, you got a bunch to choose from. I really love the tone on this E-Piano 1. Like, I love those keys. I don't know why. They're really basic, but they got like a warmth to them, and I love the color that they add to tracks. So for that, I went ahead and added another layer. So you have your counter melodies, and I just have soundly on it, and that's for the tone. Then of course our automation. That sounds so warm, like a hug. Nah, for real, bro. I love those keys. So yeah, didn't do too much to that, like I said, because I already love the tone of that. So I didn't want to mess with it too much. I want to have it exactly how it comes out. So next, went ahead and went into purity again, and here it's another 5L, which is a cool little sound. It sounds very simple. Hold on, do this again. It sounds very simple by itself, but when it's played through the track, it definitely adds to the vibe of it. And for that circuit, I just put fresh air on there. Not too much. Then I believe this is our last purity vibe that we went with. And we have a lead on here. Distorted lead. Essentially, it's like an electric guitar. But for this one, I dirtied it up a lot because I wanted it to be like a really distorted, kind of just heavy sound for this. So we go ahead and play it first, and we'll break down into the effects that I have on there to achieve that sound. Very heavy, very distorted. Is exactly what I needed. When I was mentioning the other reverbs, this is one of them that I do recommend. Valhalla Vintage Verb. You get some really good reverb out of this. Colorful. They have a bunch of parameters that you could change. Definitely recommend that. Then I have a delay on here, the tape delay. Then we have a distortion on here, coal fired. This is to dirty it up, the dirty synth preset. Then we have this tape mellow. This is gonna give it like an aged kind of sound like vinyl. Let's go ahead and play everything that we went through so far. Let's start it from there. All right, and so that's that. Now next, we started to get into the drums and things. I used the Beanie X kick for this. Very heavy. I EQ'd it a bit and then I boosted it a bit as well so that I can get a more punchier kick. With that, I didn't really do anything to that kick besides, what I tweaked inside of it here. So, I don't have any effects on it or anything like that, not even compression, because I feel like the tone that I wanted, I achieved it from the tweaks that I did here. Then after that, we have a clap. Now this I got from Infinite. This clap has it has EQ on it, taking out some low, and I have a reverb on it again with my FL stock reverb that I love so much. From that clap, we have the hi-hats. So on my hi-hats, I just have the same thing, EQ and a reverb. Let me go ahead and play that for you. All right. And then we layered it as well. So same thing. Just has a different hi-hat on it. I like how they layered. All right. Then for my hi-hats, we went ahead and added an 808. This is like the perfect 808. You could damn near use it in everything. Now, one thing about 808s, please put your 808s into the proper key because that is annoying. Now, also to control your 808s, this right here is very important. If you need to just pause the video, do this to your 808. All right, thank me later. Just like this, right here. Do that exact thing. You'll be able to do that by moving these. All right, because when you get it, it's gonna come something like it's something like that, something weird, right? But no, just do what I did here, and boom, you'll be great. All right, and yeah, and then put it in the key, like I said. All right, so 808 here goes. The pattern for the 808. Yeah, here we go. All right. Now that is. It was also. It was also another part from. All right, so that there is. It's from the same live performance, just another part of the sample that we went ahead and chopped out. And so when this is played, it sounds like this. And then we have this here, same thing. Kind of gives it like an eerie kind of feel, you know? Then we went into like the ear candy stuff. And here we have some lasers. And I just cut these up appropriately. Right? All right. Hi-hat roll. Sounds like that. All right. And then from that, another hi-hat roll. This is my tag. You guys, I mean, if you're producing, you probably already got a tag, so you don't really need to hear it until you hear it on the beat. If you want a video about how to create a tag, let me know. I'll make a video about it. And here we got a snare. And so the snare, is added here. This is into our chorus. So alright. So that's that for the track and the instruments that we have for this record. Now next we have our automation. So each one of these are different effects that we have on certain tracks. And these are, pretty much when they're active or when they're enabled and when they're off. So when you see them up like this here, like these areas where this particular effect is playing on the end. For this one, it's playing here, it's playing here. For the guitar, it's playing not all the way open, but halfway, a little bit above half, it looks like. It's playing all the way on that and to the end of it. This particular effect is playing only on the beginning, and it's off the rest of the track. This right here is the master fader, pretty much, which will be this. And this just allows me to automate a fade out. As far as doing these automation tracks, if you are unfamiliar with how to do them, it's very simple. So let's go ahead and let's look at one. So let's say that we have a delay on, what are we on right now? On the snare, right? Let's say you only want this delay to play on the snare, when the chorus is playing or the hook. And so what you'll do is you'll come to the track that has your snare on it. You have your delay. You want to right click on this. When you right click on that, you want to go down to create automation clip. Once this creates an automation clip, it'll place it here into your playlist or to your arrangement grid. It'll put it on your arrangement grid. Now once that's on there, this is where you're going to put where you want it. So let's say that this area here is where the hook is, right? So you're just going to take these points here, you're going to take it, you're going to drag it down until it's off. You'll make another point by right clicking, and it'll give you another one of these points. You drag it up, bring it over, and so forth until you open this exactly where you want that particular effect to play. When you do not want that effect to play, you make sure that you bring it all the way down. And that's off. So again, this is off, this is on, this is off. And again, to achieve that, you go to the knob on the right side of your effect. You want to right click it. You want to go down to create automation clip. And that'll bring up this track onto your arrangement grid or your automation. You can automate pretty much anything, any effect that you put on here, you can automate it. Even if you just want to automate the volume, on something, you can come right to the fader, do the same thing, right click it, create automation clip. It'll put it here into the arrangement grid, and you do the same thing. Same goes for your master fader. If you want to create like a fade out or a fade in on your track, you can do it there. Now, as far as actual audio files that you may have on your arrangement grid, you can fade them right from it. So as you see this here, this is a fade. Okay, so you do that by just dragging that little triangle there and drag it out. This is fading this particular sound in so that it doesn't just start right on the line there. It'll fade it in, and you can do the same thing if you're wanting to fade that out. So that's why you're seeing these things here. Some things are fading in, fading out, etc. I just have like one more thing that I want to show you guys, and that's going to be on the 808 and the kick. So let's come over here. Let's come to our 808. Boom. And our kick. Okay. So for our kick, over here on 10, our 808 is on 18. All right. Now, when it comes to layering kicks and 808s, things can get kind of muddy. So you want to, have a way to mitigate that. You could do that by side chaining. So that's what I've done here. I have the kick here. As you see this line here, this is side chained to my 808. You see that line comes here. Now, what that means is pretty much when the kick plays, it'll duck the 808 behind it just for that hit, so that they're not fighting for the same space in the stereo mix. So if you come here, you can see that. Now let me play it so that you can see exactly what I mean. This ducking purple is ducking the 808, and that's when the kick hits. So you can hear that they both have their own space there in the mix. So when the kick hits, you don't hear like a muddiness, or you don't hear the 808 taken away from the actual punchiness of the kick. or making it mushy and washing it out. Those are both on the low end of, the frequency spectrum. So they definitely could clash. So that's why you would want to do something like side chaining. Now, side chaining is pretty simple as well. You can side chain anything. It doesn't have to be a kick and an 808 to side chain. You could side chain a guitar to your drums. You could side chain a tambourine to a vocal, whatever. You can side chain whatever you want to whatever you want. Now, to achieve that, you're going to want to go to your kick, and then you're going to go to whatever you're wanting to sidechain the kick to. It'll look like this. You're going to right click it, and then you're going to hit sidechain to this track. Okay? So once you do that, let me go back to the kick. Once you do that, that will connect and it'll look like this. Once you have that sidechained, you want to then go ahead and click on your 808 or whatever it is that you're sidechaining to. Go ahead and click on that track. You're going to want to add a fruity limiter. So you go on your list here, you find your fruity limiter. Boom. Once you add that on there, it's going to come on there as limit first. You want to make sure you click on comp or compressor first. Click on that. You'll see side chain here. Then you want to right click in that area, and you should see whatever it is that you side chain to it. You're going to want to go ahead and click on that. For this case, we have the kick. So you have kick 1 there, and that's what we have side chain to this. Once you have those all routed correctly, you're going to want to then play around with your threshold and your ratio. And that's where you can find the sweet spot on where, what you need to have these set to so that it is ducking appropriately, whatever it is that you are side chaining, whatever you're side chaining. I can't talk. Boom. So there you go. And you see again, my kicks are having their own space. All right. So after side chaining, the last thing that I'm going to touch on pretty briefly is just EQing. So on this particular record, I didn't do a lot of heavy EQing onto things because I wanted this to be a little dirty, this track. So it's kind of helped with the feeling and the vibe that I was going with. Uh, but as far as EQing goes, when I did add EQs to things on my track, let me find something that I have EQ'd. All right, so for this particular instrument, this is a hi-hat. All right, so as you see here in my hi-hat, the only thing I EQ'd was I just took out for the lows, and that's pretty much the case for a lot of the things that have EQ on this particular record. It was just me taking out lows because I knew that I wanted this track to be kind of dirty, have that heavy 808 and the kick and things like that. So a lot of my EQing was just me taking the low end out of certain instruments that I had playing. Now, that is a very important factor, at least for me as an engineer. Whenever I'm starting to do mixes, I like to first deduct or take away frequencies, uh, or even volumes that I don't need before I start adding things. So, just think about that. If you don't have a lot of experience with mixing, it could seem like, oh, if I want to achieve a certain sound, I need to add something to it for me to achieve that sound. But adding things on top of track on top of track on top of track, the more you add, the more muddiness you're going to add into your audio. So, you want to think about that and be mindful of it. So, if there's something that you want to achieve, like say you have a hi-hat and your hi-hat seems a little muddy, or you want your hi-hat a little crisper, you might think, let me boost some of the highs and maybe some of the mids so that I can, achieve a higher, snappier hi-hat sound. I would say first to go ahead and start taking away the low end or taking away the low frequencies from the hi-hat before you start to add anything. So that way you could take away frequencies that you don't need before you start adding, which will give you more space to add stuff, if that makes sense. So again, if you need any more clarity or clarification, or if you want me to break down anything more, or if you want a separate video explaining certain things more in depth, just let me know, leave a comment. I'll touch bases with it. And that's pretty much it for this video. I'm just go ahead and play the record, let y'all hear a little bit of it. It is out. Matter of fact, if you want to check out my beat stars, it's on there under AirynWayves. If you want to hear this record in its entirety, but I'll go ahead and play a bit of it for you. So here it is.